Hello, everyone. This is our second episode. This time, Andrew and I will talk about the convenience factors of Korea. Koreans themselves even never realize how convenient it is until they experience living in a different country. What do you think about it, Andrew?
Well, I think that Korea is, it's almost has like an affiliation with the term convenience. When you think about Korea, one of the first vocabularies that enters your mind is convenience, because that's what it offers in so many forms. And you and I spoke a little bit before that one of the most prominent forms of that convenience would be the transit system, and
Yeah.
how that is really almost
Mhm.
unequaled to many other nations in the world.
Right. Yeah. Because I've been to many other countries, that I've realized that the public transportation system in Korea is really convenient and really affordable.
Yes.
That I did not know until I really experienced living in other countries. Um, so tell me more specifically about, let's say, the subway system. How much do you pay?
Yes, well, that's another thing that's important when you talk about how cheap it is to access this system, and how Koreans don't conceptualize that comfort until they have something to compare it to.
Right.
And in your case, it was another country. Um,
Right.
so the price, I just beat my card every time. So I can never really disclose the exact price, but it is immensely cheaper than the price
Yeah.
of using transit
Yeah.
in Canada. And it takes you to almost your exact location each
Right.
time. So you're always within a stone's throw of
Yeah.
the target that you're trying to
Yeah.
reach. So,
Yeah. When you
and
use
yes,
the subway system, you use do you use credit card or subway card,
I
or
use
you use
debit card
debit card?
here
Yeah.
in Korea.
So
Yes,
yeah, every issued debit card, every issued credit card has a little microchip, so you can
yes,
use any transportation, right, in Korea, even like
that's
a
correct.
bus,
That's correct.
any transportation, basically any public transportation.
And you can also make purchases with that
Right, right,
card for
right.
other items. And I didn't realize that until I was in Korea for a couple
Mm.
years, that you can actually go to the convenience stores and purchase other items, which is just such a peculiar
Yeah,
comfort that they
yeah.
offer.
And I believe that such convenience comes from the technology adoption in Korea. The
Yes,
technology adoption in Korea is like I mean, it's the level that other countries can even be closer.
yes.
Um, it's totally different level of the technology adoption. Everybody's basically a little bit techy.
Yes, yes.
Everybody loves new technology. They are willing to spend money to buy it as soon as possible. That's probably one reason why we have such convenience. What do you think?
Yes, I think that because those technological elements have been saturated in Korean culture for quite some time. Not only was it saturated for a long time, but people in Korea do take heed of those kind of forms of entertainment, or whether it's applications, or whether they're playing games, or whether they're just doing using online shopping. There's much more of a much more of a cultural aspect towards technology than there would be in Canada. People in Canada are less inclined to use the internet as a mechanism for so many parts of their
Mhm.
life.
Yeah. And I recently did research about internet adoption
Mm.
in many different countries. Korea has over like a 78%. So basically, other than some like a really old people, it's almost just I just can't see anyone who's not using internet, who's not having the mobile phone with data service. And talking about the internet speed in Korea, what do you think?
Yeah, the internet speed in Korea is light years ahead of also many other countries in the world. It's I would say that it's at least a decade ahead of Canada, but it's not only the speed, it's the environs that you're able to make use of the internet. And what I mean is that in Canada, once you surpass the environs of that city and you take your phone out, there will be a message in the corner of your phone reading no access, or to the precise words would be no service. So once you're outside of the city, you can't even, it's not only internet, there's many times where you don't have the phone service as well, so you can't make a phone call either.
Yeah,
So and part of that would be conducive to the just the ingenuity in Canada would be less than Korea. But again, that also is conducive to the much larger landscape that you have to
yeah,
service within
right,
Canada. So you're talking thousands and thousands of kilometers that separate some cities. So
right. Yeah. So what I when I see Canada, well, not only me, but what a lot of Koreans think about Canada is the country that's so big and the population is so low that everybody has big house and
yes,
everybody, I mean, the country has so much resource.
yes,
Uh, Meanwhile, Koreans kind of like we don't have much resource. We don't have natural resource. Tourism basically now it's a little bit. It just started booming in Korea because
yes.
of this K-pop and K-drama,
Mm,
these
mm,
kind of things that people created. So
mm.
whenever I see the things that Koreans have created in Korea to make people's life much convenient, I appreciate so much. It's just that I wish Korea had resource just like Canada.
Sure,
Not even as much as Canada, but at least
a portion,
even
some
yeah
portion.
twenty
Yeah,
percent
yeah.
of what
Yes,
Canada
yes.
has. Yeah,
I think that to take a look at that opinion, I think even 20% would be enough to strip Korean people of a large part of their motivation for orchestrating these technologies. So if you really immerse into that reality, I think it's very illustrative that the reason people in Korea have the means to develop to incredible echelons is because of the scarcity of resource. So the scarcity evokes motivation.
oh yeah,
So
I agree with that. Yeah.
yes,
Uh,
so
yeah. Uh, uh, so I have a question. The Tell me about the three most convenient things in Korea.
I would say, you know, that's um, difficult to reduce all the wonderful components to a number of three, but I can try. Um, of course, food satisfies everybody. So I really can esteem the ability to be able to eat at any hour of the day. If you're hungry and you want to
Yeah.
have a high quality meal at
Mm-hmm.
midnight or 1 in the morning
Mm-hmm.
because you have to stay up late or whatever your reason, even if you don't deliver, you can reach a location on foot within
Yeah.
3 to 5 minutes. And I'm talking about high quality cuisine. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about cheap food that's
Mm.
convenience store based food. I'm talking
Yeah.
about real cultivated culture food that's healthy
Yeah.
and so affordable. So that would be high on the list for sure.
Oh, okay.
And then
Uh,
of course, yes.
yeah. I remember that my brother was in Canada for a few
Mhm.
months, and he said that after 6 or 7, you can't see any store open. Is that true?
Everything is shut down. Everything is shut down after 6 or 7. Almost everything. The only establishments that would remain open after that time, it would be imperative that you had a vehicle so you would
Mm-hmm.
be able to get that food. And even it might even be impossible to walk because many of the places that are open at that time are the drive-through kind of places where you need the car to pick up the food. So yeah, it's and you can utilize the delivery systems, but if you use a Canadian delivery system once, you will never want to use it again because it takes so long for the food to make its arrival at your house. So
Yeah. Uh, okay, that the food system. What about two other convenient things?
so so definitely, and these are in no particular order because
Mm-hmm.
but the when we converse about the transportation, that would
Yeah.
be very high as well. So no particular
Okay.
order. The transportation is monumental.
Yeah.
The subway system is really, there's so many wonderful things I can
Mm-hmm.
portray about the subway system. But one thing that's permeating my mind now is
Mm-hmm.
you actually, even if you're a person that doesn't like exercise, you will lose weight utilizing the
Yeah.
Korean
I
subway system.
remember you said that
Yeah,
12
because
years
just for
ago
that
when you
reason,
just
well,
arrived in Korea.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's even if you don't go to the, now in my case, I exercise a lot, but even if you don't exercise or go to a gym, it you're walking to the stations, and in many
Yeah.
cases you're standing on the subway, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of motion going
Right.
on there,
Right.
just to make your commute to work.
Right. Right.
Whereas in Canada, you just get in your car, you sit in your car,
Mm.
you drive to your job. There's way too much stationary
Mm. Okay.
commuting where you're
Okay.
not getting any exercise. So
Mm. Okay. So okay, so I met some other Canadians too in Korea a few years ago. They talk about similar things, the way you talk about. Particularly, Canadians seem to appreciate about what Korea can offer.
yes,
Is that because of the difference between Korea and Canada? And it actually also means Koreans will appreciate what Canada can offer, like such as nature, and
very
then
interesting.
affordable
Yes,
housing and the big space, uh, you know, things like that.
I would say that some of these things that you described would be less appreciable now because not just because of COVID, but because of the inflation. And
Mhm.
it's more difficult to live that lifestyle that people deserve. The people were living that lifestyle the 80s and 90s and perhaps
Mhm.
2005, 2008. But but there's still many values in Canada that they would appreciate, such as nature and such as having, if they were able to purchase a house, they would
Mhm.
definitely have a lot of gratitude for having the space, being able to prepare food in their backyard, having the green space in their
Yeah.
backyard, and being able to bike, a lot more biking, a lot more nature, fresh air. You can, in Canada, you can always see a sky full of stars every day,
Wow.
and you can just
Mm.
see millions of stars in the sky. You can even
Mm.
see satellites sometimes
Mm.
traversing through the sky. So there would be things that they would see as quite valuable and perhaps non-existent in their native land.
Because whenever I arrive back to Korea, what I see in Korea is that we don't seem to have much nature
Yes.
around our cities. It's just a full of cities and then the building constructions all over. I mean, I appreciate the Korean ingenuity, hardworking that Koreans have built. That there are so many things close by, but sometimes I miss the nature. And
Yes.
I mean, we can find, but when I was in the US, the nature I saw was uncomparable. Like
Yes.
it was a huge and like so much space. Uh,
Yes.
there's nowhere like that in Korea, basically.
Well, I used to think that until I got the KTX to Busan.
Uh-huh.
And when I got the KTX to Busan, of course, it's not to the same enormity as you would see in Canada or in the United States. Um, but of course, you see the things in Korea that give us value are like we mentioned, the city
Mhm.
infrastructures and all of this comfortable service at hand kind of mentality and structure. But that being said, Korea also possesses nature to some scale. When I got that KTX to Busan, I was very surprised by the beautiful natural land
Oh,
that I witnessed, and I saw
yeah.
beautiful mountains, and I seen a respectable amount of that.
Hmm. Oh,
So Korea does have some form of nature if you are willing to explore outside of the most recognized areas.
yeah. I think for foreigners, especially from the West, they could enjoy the nature in Korea because it looks different.
Yes. Oh,
That
yes. Yes.
yeah, yeah, and that's what I enjoyed the most when I was in the U.S. It wasn't anything that human built buildings. I didn't quite appreciate whatever was there human built, but
Mhm.
I really appreciated their nature.
Yes.
Um, it could be probably the same thing when people from the West coming to Korea and seeing the nature.
Yes. Right.
Yeah,
Well, it's as you just disclosed. It's different, and
yeah.
as soon as I remember my first day in Korea, and the first thing that I was able to decipher was the profound difference in the dimension of Korean mountains. The way that they are shaped on the top
Hmm.
is major distinction from the shape of mountains in Canada. and I spend a lot of time. I run the mountains a lot, and I do different
Wow.
mountains regularly. I do Namsan and I do Gayon,
Oh.
and so I actually do get to witness a lot of these beautiful natural components of Korea.
Wow. Okay. The last and also the most convenient thing in Korea.
Okay. This wouldn't be more convenient than the other two, but I would say, so I would say, what could I say for a third? Okay, here we go. Oh, this one is big. This one is big. So, oh, I can get emotional about this one
Okay.
because in Canada, applying for jobs is atrocious. And it's not atrocious because it's more difficult, because the screening process is more difficult. It's not for that reason. It's due to the hurdles that you have to go around in terms of getting on airplanes and going to these different cities. So you could be from Vancouver and have a job interview in Toronto or Montreal.
Wow.
So you have to allocate a couple days and book a hotel, and you might not even get the job. So and one of the reasons I was able to sustain with the visitation that we're now dealing with, visitation being COVID-19, is because it's you, and this is also commensurate with the transportation. But if you have a job offer or a job probability, you can always make that walk. Whereas in Canada, there's so many offers as well as probabilities that you have to eliminate because they're so far.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So it's whoa, it's a big one. It's a big one. So that's that might be the most prominent convenience.
Okay, so
Yes.
with that convenience, it's easier to get a job in Korea or
Well, I
in
would say
Canada?
for me, because getting on airplanes for a job interview is nightmarish. It's nightmarish. So if you have a job interview in Anyang and you don't get it, big deal.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
but if you fly on an airplane and don't get it, and you have to use your credit card to, then what do you do for the next job interview? So and I actually think that apart from that, it's probably easier to get a job in Canada because Korean society is it's regimented in a way so that it's the competition is just unbearable. So, but that part of having that astronomical distance would make, I would say, would make Canada more difficult unless you're willing to stay in a region of Canada that doesn't pay very well, or where you can't really garner your dream and make your dream come to fruition. So
You know, okay, so it's I have two friends that I met when I was in middle school. The two of them migrated to Canada about 10 years ago or over 10 years ago, like a 15 or 20, like one of them went to Canada at the age of like 18, and the other one went to Canada at the age of 23 or 4, something like that.
Mhm.
And so I want to ask you this question. So which group of people will be more satisfied when it comes to their living situation? The one group is the Koreans who are going to migrate to Canada, or the other group, Canadians who want to come to Korea and establish in Korea and living in Korea. So which
Well,
group?
that is a very thought-provoking question for and it's actually going to make me look a little bit flawed, because I'm right now, what I'm doing is I'm bringing to the forefront why Korea is easier to establish your employment opportunity. Now, alternatively, when Koreans go to Canada, from my observation, I see them reaching levels in Canada that might be unreachable in Korea. And sometimes I heard this term used by people
So
in New
simply
York.
they achieve more in
They
Canada when they go to
achieve
Canada?
they achieve much more. And when you say achieve, you have to kind of decode, well, what does achieve mean? Well, it's sometimes it's money, but many times it's the fact that they are more at liberty. They have more time to pursue the things that they genuinely want to pursue.
Mhm.
Plus, they might be making more money or the same money for 50% of the work. So
Okay.
but from what I was able to observe, they succeeded admirably in
Mm.
Canada. Yes. Many, not only Koreans, but Koreans, Japanese, and Chinese, many foreigners had that success, but I've witnessed many Koreans independently. Yes.
Yeah. We had saying that when I was a teenager, when you go to US or Canada and when you can't get the like the highest score in
Mhm.
a classroom, you would be either idiot or something's wrong with your brain.
Yes. Yes.
That
Yes.
that's we jokingly said that's how
Yes.
easy that it is to get the number one ranking in a classroom or in a school in either US or Canada. I
Yes.
don't know
Yes.
about
And
the
yes.
European countries, but that's what jokingly we talked about when I was teenager. So
Yes.
I don't know if that's even true. Um, what do you think?
Yeah, I can uh, correspond with that statement, and I would say that there is a lot of truth to that statement. When you talk about the traditional curriculum, especially, Koreans are prototypes in the world pertaining to, math, science, a lot of these traditional subjects. They are definitely high on the totem pole. So when they go to a Canadian institution, I've seen in many cases, I remember in university, I would see scores of Koreans and Japanese, and along with people from Hong Kong, and they would be tutoring the Canadian students. And they weren't fluent in English, but they'd be tutoring in math and they'd be tutoring in biology and science. And even though they were not completely versed in English, they were they still had the capacity to furnish these complex equations and terms to Canadian students. So they flourish incredibly in Canadian schooling institutions. Yes.
Okay. Uh, so so let me ask you this question. what is the one convenient thing in Korea that Canada must have?
So, well, there would be, what would the one be? So something in Korea that Canadians really are happy to use while they're here. Okay. I would say the easy access to food, and for those who are in the party scene, and this is not a scene that I am participating in anymore. But when I first came to Korea, I was really happy about being able to purchase beer at any time. So, my drinking routines were quite they were quite regular for that for my first year or two. But so I would say in terms of food, in food industries, I would say that that would be a big one for many Canadians because they do love nightlife and they do love food, and they are a diverse people. They do have diverse minds on account of other cultures, so they're willing to eat Korean food and perhaps sample it. And they love duck
Yeah.
galbi. Canadians love duck galbi. So
Okay, so I this is the last thing that I want to talk about. So as a Korean, you know, you can see that like my generation of people, that now we have the lowest birth rate in the
yes.
world. It's much lower than even Japan.
Mhm.
Um, so I know that Korea has many things to offer to foreigners.
Mhm.
I mean, like when I see Korean society, it could be, I mean, people who come to Korea who can make a decent amount of salary. I think Korea can offer so many things. I think foreigners should figure out this country, even compared to other more known countries like Japan or China and Thailand, um, Singapore. This is the country that people should figure out and people should experience. But as a Korean, I think the Koreans' stress level is quite high.
Yes,
That,
incredibly high. Yes.
yeah, incredibly high. That we have such enormous uh, suicide rate, and then
Mhm.
the very low birth rate, and then many Koreans talk about like how we can solve this problem.
Mhm.
I think Koreans are really working hard. So like we have such great service.
Mhm.
But like from my perspective as a Korean, I think a lot of Koreans envy people, you know, who are in the West, especially countries like Canada or Australia,
Yes.
and that's why many people want to go to either Canada or Australia.
Mhm.
Uh, um, uh, not European countries or even the US, Canada or Australia, because it's so different. That's why they kind of want to live in their rest of their life in a
Yes.
totally different environment.
Yes.
Um, how could we improve our condition without as a Korean not leaving Korea? I know this
Well,
environment is pretty good for foreigners, but what about
yes.
for Koreans?
Yes. So I think that I think they could there's they have to learn to be and I think this is relatable to many nations in the world. We have to be more content with less.
Mm-hmm.
So I know in Korea, there's the competition kind of breeds an aptitude
Yeah, yeah,
to need more and more and more and never be satisfied. So I think that if people here were more satisfied with less, and if the target in life was to do things that stimulate your mind and stimulate you as a person and give you a sense of contribution to society, and do that as a substitute for wanting the expensive car or having to live in the most expensive district, and just having more appreciation for the things that matter, like your family and your parents and your brother and sister, and brand name, completely neglecting brand names, because that's one thing that really infiltrated Korean culture was the obsession with having to go to a university that has the highest ranking. And I would say factors like that would have a big impact.
yeah. What I wish for Korea is some level of diversity, so
Yes,
that we I mean, I really believe that we need some more foreigners who
yes,
can fill in and establishing in our country, so
yes,
that because because just imagine all people are the same, like a Koreans, this homogeneous society, like
yes,
basically, since everybody's the same, everybody wants to compete.
yes,
And if
exactly.
everybody's different, we would compete less. But
Compete
because
less, right?
everybody's the same, we want to differentiate by competing.
By competition. Yes, yes,
Yeah. So I
yeah,
really want some level of diversity in Korea.
yes, yes. Yep, I would say that diversity would really redress a lot of the issues that are so
Right.
common here.
Right.
And if you had more diversity, then people would learn to pacify and learn to accept the differentials among society and among the people.
Right.
Yes.
Andrew, anything to add?
Um, well, I think that all of the notions that we described today, I
Mhm.
hope that especially the ones where we talk about opting for change, I hope that they can make their way into tangible outcomes that we can see and understand and witness the changes within a Korean society.
All right. It's been a great talk. And then we will have another conversation next week. Um,
Excellent.
yeah. And see you next time, guys.
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.